Hello, everybody, and welcome to the third episode of the Biblio Files. That's Heathen Cantina's actual play of the Candlekeep Mysteries, and we may even get to a few of those tonight. My name's Asmo Daniker. I'll be your host and dungeon master tonight. My pronouns are he, him. You can check me out here every Saturday night, either DMing or playing right here at Heathen Cantina. I'm a frequent guest over at Manapot Studios. Always happy to give them a shout out. And I always like to say that in a party like this, everybody owns half the map, including the DM. So let's meet some of our other stakeholders here. We're gonna start with Zarai's player tonight.
Hi, I'm Nick, or Unichronic. I'm playing Zarai, the Dark Elf Bard, and I'm really excited to get into it tonight.
Awesome. We'll skip right across there to Gale.
Hello, I am Matt. You can also find me on the internet as Hoff or Heathen Hoff on the Twitters there. Pronouns are he, him. And I also am in charge of some of the sound effects and wonderful background noises you hear. So if any of them are loud, let me know.
And finishing out the top row, we've got Shaznazular's player.
Hi, I'm Eric. You can find me here weekly on Saturdays. I'll be playing Shaznazular, the Improbable, this evening. Enjoy.
And we're going to learn a little bit more about Iraq later, but why don't we let Iraq's player introduce themselves?
Hi, I'm Fran. My pronouns are she, her, they, them. And I play Iraq. You can find me on Twitch chat as Citronaria.
And finishing out last and certainly not least, Elisar Linder's player.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ruben. I also go by Azadem, and I play on the Biblio Files every other week as Elisar Linder, the Moon Elf Wizard.
Last week, our heroes finally made their way to Candlekeep after some hard travel. They encountered freakish weather, fey ensorcelled beasties, pack of boars that were quite ornery and cantankerous, that appeared to have been stirred up by some quicklings. Quicklings being a fearsome trickster fey. Picture a brownie with super speed that has no interest in fixing up things around your house, but might want to poison your livestock. Quicklings are chaotic and evil, and pranks and mischief are their stock and trade. The party was not impressed. They were quick to capture the quicklings once they realized they were who'd stirred up these boars. And even though they handled Thistleprick and Quillpocket mightily, they were unable to escape the storm, possibly a summoned storm, that rolled in afterwards. It chased them into the welcoming arms of the Friendly Arm Inn, an inn in the foot of a once cursed keep, run by retired gnomish adventurers, a warrior, an artificer, and a cleric of some renown. They stayed the night there and were refreshed, recharged, made their way down the Lion's Way to Candlekeep proper. Took in a schwitz, got a little bit loosened up and freshened up, and then were brought beyond the Emerald Door into the interior of Candlekeep, where they discovered numerous factions had been discussing them and perhaps wagering on their skill and whether or not they could find a lost sage. The sage Matrius went missing a few weeks back, 10 days in fact, and it's rumored he disappeared in the conjuration ward. The party went to investigate and found a small alcove that had been cordoned off with velvet rope. Never one to be stopped by a keep out sign, the party removed the rope and crossed some sort of shimmering dimensional barrier that had a little bit of abjuration force in it. There was a woo 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 sensation as they did so. They made their way inside, and before long, a large tome on the table clapped shut, announcing its own presence in the room. It bore the face of a very serious looking practitioner of the magical arts. It was recognized, and a conversation began to ensue about this Mordenkainen and what his face was doing on a book here in Candlekeep. And did it concern missing sage? All throughout this conversation, one party member began to look a little more lost and forlorn, and perhaps just a bit out of place. And while the rest of these nerds scuttle about looking at a book, a rock, you look around admiring the construction, the stones that are laid here. It's solidly built, and with such a high ceiling it should be. It's reinforced by these columns. You can't help but think of marble fields that you've played in as a youth. And the camera zooms in on Arak's face. It zooms out on a younger Arak, Heart Smasher, sifting through a path through the glacial moraine, up the side of rather windswept and bleak mountain in the Thesk Mountains. And the Thesk Mountains are a sharpened spur of mountains far to the east, beyond the Sea of Fallen Stars, south of the Moon Sea. And the tribes that remain on the Thesk Mountains are fewer and fewer every year. The Thesk Mountains, inhospitable. It's 5 syllables. But that one syllable I said earlier is probably more fitting for this landscape, in that it is bleak. As Arak climbs this grade of gravel and boulder alike, there are large swaths of pea gravel that your feet almost sink in up to the ankles. You have to make sure that you have your footing and step down on it slow. When you try to run in this kind of gravel, it only buries you up to the knee and makes you vulnerable. This kind of gravel is actually sought by some tribes to cover the trails up to their redoubts and enclaves. But you know how to walk on this gravel. You take your time. Occasionally, there's a larger boulder that interrupts this small pea gravel sized terrain, and you use that to steady yourself. And you are not alone. Most of the members of your clan are here, those that are healthy enough to make it, and that is most of them, although Goliath tribes do care for those that are infirmed and believe that you can still be proud of other contributions to a clan and a tribe's output. Stories are very big on the tribes that remain on the Thesk Mountains. The 2 main tribes are the Ovathiga and the Ograkaya. The Ovathiga is an old giant word, or collection of giant words, that means the wyvern's eggs, and the members of that tribe seem to think of themselves as possessing a inner venom or fury. The The Ogrkaya are the Bear's Wisdom tribe. But today, these two tribes are competing in a rite of passage amongst their young warriors. The winners will get to do what the Ogrkaya tribe is currently doing, further up the mountain, just catching the first rays of the dawn sun as it finally peeks its way out from beyond the Thaymount. The glacier, when the morning sun hits, the tribe that has the rights to it can take the first water off of it using this wedge that is hammered into the glacier, but it's hammered gently, hammered with 1,000 taps, as the wisdom tells you to do, so that you slowly put this metal blade into the first light of the sun, and it heats up just enough to melt off some of the glacial flow. Currently, it's the Ogrkaya tribe that has the rights to do that first and give water as a gift to the other tribes. There is talk that as these glaciers have shrunk, maybe the time for war has come yet again. There hasn't been outright warfare between any of the clans for a generation, and that is good, for few tribes remain on the Thesk Mountains. Many tribes, a few generations ago, headed south into the Dragonjaw Mountains. Occasionally, you see them in the valley where the humans have their settlements, making trade for furs and sweet treats, luxury items, things to take back and fill your clan's folk with wonder. Exotic treats from ports of call far to the west and south of here. But some have gone into the human settlements and found work and the measure of coin, toiling in the iron mines, one of the few goods that the nation of Thesk can produce, and it does so from the mountains that bear its name. The Dragonjaw Mountains have no iron in them that any human settlements have found. Maybe your tribe will go there someday, Arak. You wonder that as you see the elders struggling to make their way. You know where they're headed. There's a flattened outcropping that overlooks this long slope of glacial moraine, all the smaller rocks that it is ground up as it expanded and retreated up and down this mountain over countless generations. But you make your way up, and on this outcropping is, well, it's a ring, some 20 feet across, with two markings in it that denote where you stand as you bow one to the other, then to the tribes, then again to each other. And you realize on this day, you're going to wrestle. But not first. First, there is the breaking of fast. There's a certain amount of ceremony to this. Today is the day that you will be receiving your title. And a Goliath is given 3 names. There's the name they are given at birth. Yours was Arak. There is their clan name. And there's the other name that they acquire in various rites of passage, various coming of age ceremonies. This one is yours. While you are waiting for the heated broth to be passed around, it's a strong mushroom and lichen broth with a little bit of goat bone that's been cooked down in there, so it's got some collagen and there's some heartiness to it. But it's lichen. Certain kinds of lichens are the main ingredient. You stare at this particularly verdant patch of lichen catching the morning sun, and you think, how like that lichen we are. these people as we cling to this nearly barren rock trying to eke out an existence with our goats and our hunting. The stories you've heard are what kept you, and I'm gonna share a few stories with you, just top of mind, and you tell me which one's your favorite. There's the story of the hungry chieftain, and that is told and retold in various configurations, and it's more of a morality lesson. It's about never turning away strangers in need, being a hospitable host. In the story, the chieftain is rude to people who come into their holdings and seeking refuge from wyverns that are engaging in predation on their people, and they are turned away and turned away again. And after the chieftain um, turns them away, he finally invites them in, and has become corrupted. He went mad in the last winter, and he began engaging in unspeakable acts, and he offered some of the meat that was actually secretly fallen tribesfolk that he had engaged in warfare with. He offered this as foodstuffs, and for that he was cursed. And the story ends with the hungry chieftain running, harried by invisible demons that plagued him and only he could see, and ran off the top of a mountain, never to be seen again. There's another story amongst your people about the wily ogress. This story is more of a cautionary tale to teach you to question things that seem too good to be true. Question your senses, but question the story being told. For the wily ogress takes many forms, and she lures many Goliaths to their death. But it is the wise Goliath, a bear shaman Goliath, who sees through her trickery and undoes her mask and shows her to all the people, who then commence a lively off-camera beatdown. And another tale is the one of the pale traveler, a human who, weakened by meager upbringing and accommodations and no real abundance to speak of, is turned away from house after house, um, for they thought he brought plague to their door. What they did not know was that he was traveling ahead of the plagues that were to come, and he offered medicine and wisdom, but those that turned him away, well, everybody knows the plague is coming. Everybody knows it's moving fast. These tales all have something in common. They're good stories. Sometimes they're stories. There's one about the wily hedgehog. That's told as a softened version when the kids need to go to sleep and you want them to with a few giggles and passing out. But you tell the wily ogress and the kids aren't sleeping. You tell them the one of the pale traveler, and they're going to want to sleep with their parents because they're going to be scared senseless that plague is coming. Which one's your favorite?
Rock's favorite would probably be about the pale traveler. In a sense, I think it reminds him of Gale.
You haven't met Gail yet, but
Yes.
that's perfect.
But later on.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
it's if it wasn't your favorite, it might be afterwards. No, that's perfect. The sun grows high in the sky, beating down on the wedges of metal that were gently tapped by your tribesfolk. The goat and yak bladders are nearly full of water to be carried into settlements. There is a tense calm beginning to spread throughout the camp as the time for the clan's champions, the 15 to 18-year-old ornery folk that need to make a name for themselves and be given their third name. You are representing your people. And you didn't realize you'd be facing her. When Kaitar the Rock Caller names the names, Rock and Makia, you felt a cold shiver. For Makia already has a name from last year's event. Last year at this time, when the axe star is in the sky, you attended, eager to watch and learn, because sometimes people wrestle for a few years before they don't participate anymore. But when Makia was told she could not wrestle, and jokes were made that she might break some of the lesser Goliaths, in her frustration, she punched a boulder and cleaved it in two. For she is known as Makia Boulder Breaker. She has a left hook that could break the boulder that is you. A few younger wrestlers square off. Competition is good. They're well suited one to the other, and even the one that lost little honor in doing so. And then you are standing across from Makia. And although you have wrestled before and you are quite comfortable doing so, you weren't quite prepared for her to charge. You bowed. You stood up, you turned. You bowed to the tribal elders. You stood up, you turned. You bowed to her, and in an instant, she was on you before you had your footing under you. And she just stomped you into the dirt and backed up and gave you a moment to regain your footing. You dusted yourself off. It was a good opener, but now you're ready. And you begin to circle each other on the mound. As you do so, she smiles and says, "Well, Larak, I'm glad it's us. I'd hoped I'd get a chance. I'd hoped I'd get a chance to come at you." And she moves in, and you don't flinch, but you realize a moment too late that it's a feint. That she was being friendly, and it almost threw you off your guard. But that almost is a mile of distance from what really happened. Because in a flash, there's this cracking noise, and you realize she has punched you. You do not fall, but you do wobble. And in that moment, she is up underneath you and has one leg up on her shoulder, and your shoulder on her, your armpit on her other shoulder, and she is spinning in place. And you see Mountain Valley Sky Sun, and they accelerate Mountain Valley Sky Sun until you see Valley. You landed with a hard smash that the whole tribe heard. You awake, and there's a few things broken. You were pitched out of the pitch and down the glacial moraine, and you tumbled for some time after smacking loudly on one boulder. You were afforded the mercy of unconsciousness after that first smack, but you fell for another 400 yards. Numerous cuts and bruises. People poking each other and laughing, hiding their laughter from you. Better luck next year. Your shame, it's palpable. You feel you've dishonored your people. But it's at that moment that Kaitar approaches you and says, You walked back up to this camp, and there's honor in that. You will heal. Your pride will heal. And this will help in the meantime. And he hands you this small water skin, and it's got some sort of really strongly smelling punky liquor in it. And takes a swig, and you see him wipe the milky liquor from his lips as he handed it to you. You know that it's Kaitar's way of accepting you as a full member of the tribe. You also know that to be fermented yak's milk. And it tastes strong. It's stronger than, I don't know if you've snuck a taste of it prior, but that night, the festival goes on into the wee hours, and we find you alone in a small lean-to tent. I say small, it's big enough to accommodate 4 Goliaths, so you know, $1,800 a month in New York. Tiny apartments, it's a closet, but it's got utilities, hookups anyway. What do we find you doing?
I think Arak would have been reminiscing everything that has happened and up to that point. He's probably by himself just contemplating the events of, the past couple days, couple hours. Trying to mend his pride, so to speak.
How much of Kaitar's yak milk did you drink?
A lot of it.
Well, the worm turns, and that medicinal tonic you were sipping kind of starts to get a little on top of you, and you're kind of beating yourself up about this. And it's a few weeks later that we see you hiking through some foothills of the Thesk Mountains down into a valley with your pack on your back and your weapon at your side. And you see someone stumbling along and collapsing. First you thought, it's a corpse. It's a corpse. And as you turn them over, you see that it's just an incredibly pale and emaciated human. And when we cut back into the scene, Arak is staring at Gale, who is now likely sniffing Mordenkainen's book.
Well, of course you have to sniff the book. Why wouldn't you? You don't know if it smells like poison if you don't.
Let's not split hairs here. The name of the show is the Biblio Files. Who here hasn't smelled a book?
That book smell pretty great.
I've done it in subtle ways, like somebody hands me a book, like, oh, hey, you can borrow this. And I'm like, I want to know if I want to know things. Like, does it stink? Does the book stink? So I'll try to smell it all subtle. And sometimes I have just grabbed them and opened them and stuffed my nose right in the spine to smell them. Rather dirty style. But it's true. I've done it, and now I've shared.
Just flip through all the pages, letting the breeze hit your face.
Just get in there and just, reading is fundamental. Who doesn't love flipping through the pages? You find yourself in a comfortable study, 3 tables. Magical globes hover over each table. Another globe of slightly larger size hovers over this pedestal in this arched enclave study within the library. this book slammed itself closed, but it looks like it left a bookmark. There's a ribbon bookmark that's woven into the spine. I believe I described one of them flapping about, but you see the bookmark is moving and put itself back in the page it was open to last. So this book has just moved on its own. And with that, we've got our first dice roll of the game tonight. Anybody want to make either an Arcana, History, Perception, or Investigation? You get to pick which one. But I'll let you just trigger those from your own character sheets the old-fashioned way.
Okay. Well then, let me.
Leaving this challenge a little open for y'all to bring what you Okay. So I'm picturing Elisar and Gale are sort of looking around. Arak, you saw that piece of ribbon move and put itself back into the book. There was no mistaking that. You saw that it moved. That's some magic. Gale, it's arcane magic. You know that. Elisar, it's not Mordenkainen's magic. You know that. And you should be able to open back up to that bookmark. But opening up elsewhere in this book, that could be tricky. Dangerous, even. And Shaznajalar and Zerai, the two of you are having a lively conversation over in the corner. What is it? What are you discussing?
I think Zare probably would have started asking Shaz about his homeland a little bit more since he's mentioned it in the past. A place where drow are viewed and accepted a little bit differently than over here. I don't know why they started talking about that, but
Shaznazular has kind of a, he sees a kindred spirit in Zeray. Someone who is shunned some places, but we have this. I'm used to seeing drow where I came from too, so there's a little bit of a nostalgia thing there, little taste of home. So there was drow there. It's nice to have one here.
Something familiar.
Something familiar.
Okay. So Shaznajalar, you also, for just a moment, start thinking about your last scam and how it went pear-shaped quickly. When you thought, okay, I've managed to escape the reach of Kalimport. You thought, if I stopped in Athkatla, that would have been too close. They still could have got me. It just wasn't far enough away. So you overshot it, went to Baldur's Gate. There's so much corruption and grift and guilds and angles in that city. You're like, I figured mine would go unnoticed. But now you're starting to think, hell, maybe you should have gone all the way to Port Nyanzaru down in Chult to get away from all this. But it is nice to be welcomed into this party, and you hope it lasts.
Just might be safest on the road for a little while.
So what do y'all do with this book? It seems like it's not going to blow up if you open it. At least if you open it to the that was awkward. If you open it to the to where the bookmark is.
So does Elisar recognize the book for what it is?
It's The Joy of Extra-Dimensional Spaces. Or rather, it's a copy of it. It was copied from the original, which was penned, a version it's derivative of something Mordenkainen wrote themselves. Like Mordenkainen,
Gotcha.
you know them to be a wizard so powerful, they're not even from Faerun. Hell, they're not even from Abir Toril. They're not from this planet.
Mm-hmm. So Elisar would pull out a pair of silk gloves to handle the book, not leave any oily fingerprints on the pages that would just ruin the book. And he's going to open up to the bookmark.
As you open up to the bookmark and go to set it on the pedestal, the bookmark rises up, reminiscent of a cobra, and then lays down and pats your gloved hand in a accepting gesture. And then it's no longer animate, it's just a bookmark. What's great about some of the copies that are made, you know that the Scriveners and the money that keeps the magic going and flowing and keeps the lights on in the library, so to speak. A lot of that money really comes from the copying and annotation of
Mm-hmm.
specific works. This one is done as a reference and study manual. So there is the original book, and then there is a large margin, almost no gutter for it. It's condensed down, so you really do have to open it on a pedestal. It's not for carrying around. I mean, the thing weighs 7 pounds. But it's got someone else's notes in it. It seems to be some sort of cipher, maybe a shorthand. But if you want to drop an Arcana check on there,
Yes, please. Do you want me to just do it myself?
sure.
All right.
You know, it's not. You don't need to cast any spells. It's not magical writing, but there are shorthand in there, and there appears to be 7 letters that have been there's mathematical formula and then the 7 letters, and then they are written out horizontally as well. But there's a little reference that says see page 117. So you've stumbled onto some sort of code, but it's not fully there yet. By the way, you're on page 204.
Only the bookmark is safe. Don't do it. Everything else is going to kill us. I mean, I don't think it'd be a good idea to touch this without one of the wizards helping. Can we have them turn the page?
Elisar is one of them wizards.
Yeah, Gale, that's exactly.
I-
Zare's like, Elisar is one of those wizards.
I do.
Great. I'll stand over here while you turn it then.
Yeah. Let's all stand over far away, and I will mage hand to turn the page.
You mage hand to turn the page, and the bookmark snakes out of the way, splits, and becomes 2 bookmarks, laying over the page indicated, page 117. And you see the earlier part of the formula, but you see another one of the letters, and it says, as referenced on page 64 and 88.
Wizards, they love their puzzles, don't they?
So now it could be an investigation check or an Arcana check.
Let's mix it up and go with investigation.
What were the 3 page numbers?
So far it was 204, 117, 64, and 88.
This sounds like a math puzzle.
The spaces indicated for those 7 characters on the original page, it seems like as you flip back and forth through this, there's one missing, and you think you understand what the word is. I'm going to give you the letters, but I'm going to let you rearrange them. You realize at this moment that what you are assembling is a command word for a spell that has already been cast.
Oh, fun.
The hum of energy in this chamber is indicative of that kind of conjuration magic, sustained conjuration magic, powerful magic.
Very nice.
And you find the letters for, you find the letters C, E, P, S, R, T. But there's a slight difference in the two references to the letter E. And there's just something that's not quite right about it.
Very interesting.
You don't necessarily want a second opinion, but at first you think, well, maybe I should go, talk to more Greaves about this. No, I got this. You got this. Probably means that letter is repeated in the word. Of course it is. It's the letter E. But what is that word?
It's a P secret. Definitely a P secret. Mordenkainen was, he could only ever use one bathroom.
Are you throwing that out to committee, or are you trying to figure it out yourself?
Oh, mostly humor, but also committee.
No, I'm saying whoever's looking at the book, like, because I was over, talking to Zaray or whatever.
Elisar would be like speaking aloud as he flips through the pages and reads out any information.
The word is specter, right?
Hmm.
The person standing at the podium has to say the command word. And before you say what you just heard, because you do call out what letters there are, so everybody starts to figure out what they might be. But if you're wrong, there could be consequences there too.
It does fit. Yeah, Elisar's gonna say it.
You're saying
Spectre.
specter. Okay.
We're dead.
And now we fight a specter and roll new characters.
It's not that bad. Just gonna roll some dice. Don't mind me.
Ignore the dice behind the screen.
Perfectly harmless dice. Perfectly harmless caves. Dice tower. That's what we need.
Yeah, I was telling Zaray about this stand on the Muzad that sells this great roast ripple bark and fire lichen stew. And how it's nice and spicy. When I overheard the letters and I said, "Oh, Spectre?" There you go.
I mean, if you're watching the stream and you see that the DM just saved the campaign, it doesn't mean I'm saving the game so that they can reload from this point. It just means, it's insurance. You call out Spectre, and the book claps shut with a breaks the speed of sound as it does so, and I'm gonna send you a saving throw.
Okay, maybe it's respect.
It was a trap.
You gotta respect the magic word.
I am rolling a lot of 10s tonight.
And they're just enough so far. You pull your fingers back so that it doesn't break your finger. Like it claps shut, and you see the you hear and see that sound of the ribbon unspooling itself from between the pages and reassembling as one bookmark and going back to the original page 204 that it was on. You got the right letters. Wasn't the right word.
Gotta love anagrams.
I knew it was a P secret.
Yeah.
Gail, do you want to go stand up at the podium and say P secret? See where it kicks you?
It's tempting. But no.
Tempting, tempting, tempting.
Is anybody checking the chat? I'm sure chat's probably guessing. Is chat guessing?
I'm gonna walk up to it and say respect.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you going to open the book to page 204 and say that?
Sure.
So you open the book.
I'm gonna step back.
You everybody steps
Fireball.
back. The and you say in a like show me the voice you say it in. Is it an authoritative voice? How do you say it?
So I kind of go through the letters and I'm like, respect.
Nothing happens.
Maybe you have to do like a RESPECT. You know, really show it what it means to you.
Do you want it to sing the chorus "Sock it to me, sock it to me, sock it to me"? Because
It will.
That'd be good. It'd be fun.
yeah, respect doesn't seem to be the word, and yet you don't seem to have triggered any abjuration or invocation. Like
Maybe
nothing's
it's 'cause I have
triggered.
no magical ability whatsoever.
Guess I gotta be a wizard.
Got to get that book
not-
learning.
It did not cause the book to slam shut and break my fingers.
That's true. It's true. And it's
There's
on the proper
also-
page if Zerai or Elisar want to have another go at it. Or Gail, you're over there talking about P secrets. You want to roll up and...
There's also the word scepter.
There is.
Yeah.
Elisar's gonna give it another go, and he's gonna try scepter.
You walk up to the podium and say scepter, and the book gently closes and shimmers. And as it shimmers, another shimmer appears over one of the walls
Ooh.
and begins to fill out, and you see that there are now this shimmering double door glorious doorway. It looks like the doorway to a mansion, and there's a small flight of stairs going up to it, and the entire thing just appears to be glimmering as if it has little scintillating beads of oil drizzling down it, and you realize that that's just the effect of how our eyes perceive this magic. But there is a unlockable spectral doorway in your presence. Or is it a scepter doorway in your presence? But you found the word that has opened the secret space in this chamber.
Well,
And with that, I think we're in a good place to take our first break. We'll be back in just 7 minutes. You can time us on this one. And we'll see you heathens back here then. Welcome back, everybody. We have found the command word to this extra-dimensional space. And it was scepter.
And Gerza's timing us.
Yeah, how'd we do? And we asked for that. So it's shimmering. The doors, as you move around them, they're almost translucent that appear in the middle of the room. They shine down real bright, but they're already fading. And you're starting to realize they'll continue to fade in just a matter of minutes. do you do?
And you said there was locks on these doors, didn't you?
No. No?
Oh.
I say we go through the door.
As you walk up the stairs, your eyes tell you that your foot's going to go through this because it's a translucent step with the shimmering, glimmering beads of gold energy. But it feels solid. You walk up the next step, and the next, and the next, the next, and the handle of the
Elisar.
door is in your hand.
But
Yes.
before we go in, can we just tell the other wizards that we found him? He's in the door.
That would be one option, but not one that would likely be well received.
And as you say that, and Shaznazular, as you're like at the door, like we could just go in. You notice there are two robed figures at the doorway to this chamber, and they're members of the Avowed. They're in monk's robes. One of them has their hood up, and you see the little projections under their hood. You realize they have horns.
I'm
Maybe
going to turn back to him and say, how much is this worth to you? And I open the door. How much did they win for this one in their betting pool?
And the tiefling pays the half-elf 2 gold. And they go, we'll tell the others that you're good luck. Godspeed
I
good.
thought you guys had... Wait, is that one Zephyr? Or
No, it's not Zephyr. Wait, it's totally Zephyr.
yeah. I thought they had a vow of silence.
I keep forgetting to take it. But you can gamble without talking. It seems like, well, it's just how we make the books work. It's like there's a whole bookie opera. Anyway, we gamble, okay? This is the most exciting thing that's happened all month. I told you that. Good luck. Come on, get in there. We won't cross this line. It's okay.
Gail reconsiders what side of the line they should be on.
But you do see the other one reaches down and picks up the end of the velvet rope, and Zephyr goes, oh, yeah, go ahead. He took the vow. I'll get to it. And hooks the velvet rope back up.
Yep.
Okay. We're going. It's got to be awkward with us watching. And they move out of their way, and you don't see them at the doorway anymore. But now you know, they know, and because they know, everyone knows.
Yep.
You know?
They will eventually, you know.
Well,
And if you don't know, now you know.
All right,
I
I'm going
suppose
to.
that means we're supposed to go in.
I'm going to stay low as I open the door and just kind of peek in.
There's an inrush of air. You feel the air of this room rush in to like occupy some negative pressure. You don't know. It's a whooshing
There's oxygen
sensation.
here.
And the door is a lot more tangible on the inside. It looks to be some exotic, hand polished, hand stained exotic wood with shiny brass fixtures. This looks like a pretty swank place, but the name of the spell isn't Mordenkainen's swank place. But you're certain, Elisar, as you watch this, you're certain this is a variation of that spell I haven't quite named.
Swank place.
Yes.
Got
Morty's swank place.
it. Ooh.
Leo's Swanky Palace.
There you go. Morty, you should make sure that when you're setting up these magnificent abodes, that you put down some carpeting and weather stripping. Wow.
That's when it becomes.
The Adventures of Rick and Mordenkainen would be a pretty good show. It's kind of on brand
They're
Just
the
saying.
same person.
It would
Yeah.
be good.
Yeah, you're right. Oh my God, Mordenkainen. That is fair.
Mordenkainen's the Rick of D&D. That's it.
Interesting. Anybody else
These
opening, going up?
Yeah,
and other
Zaray draws
revelations.
one of her short swords, and she says, "If they're watching, we should put on a good show." And she goes, she follows Shaz up into the
Okay.
house, manse, abode.
Abode.
Let's do what
Can
we
I
can
get
for.
a...
We agreed it was the Swanky Palace.
oh, yeah.
Yep. The Swanky Palace.
Mm-hmm.
Mordenkainen, Swanky
Morty's
Palace.
Swank Palace.
Right.
Yeah. Can I find out what kind of wood the door is made of? Using druid bullshit? I mean, nature?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll even send you a druid bullshit roll.
Why, thank you.
Glad to help. Oh. You got a 17 there. 12 on the die, plus 5 to the roll. The wood is of a jungle wood variety. Similar to almost like a
A
teak.
wen or teak?
Yeah.
Doesn't rot, teak.
It's
very good.
It's not one you've seen a sample of or growth of in your travels. And you've traveled rather far, but it's unknown to you. You'd know it if you've seen it again, but you can tell that it's from a rainforest.
I'll have to ask. Yellow opens the door and follows the rest.
Awesome. So Elisar, a rock, alone at last. No, it's the
Bow chicka wow wow.
y'all climbing the staircase or shutting the door, and is there going to be an exchange of coins between you and some other members of the Avowed? Were you just the plant on the inside the whole time?
Nah, let's come what we came here for. Going inside.
I don't think a rock would have gambled. I don't think he was even aware of the gambling.
That's fair.
I
Yeah,
think he was confused why they were exchanging money. But that's about it.
Shaz is a little miffed that he wasn't in on it. He didn't get any piece of that action.
So, does everyone enter? The ceiling here, in this interior space that seems... It seems impossible to rectify in your brain, looking down and seeing this chamber, this foyer that you're walking up into, extends in both directions further than the confines of the alcove in the library. And as you look back and watch the last of you come up the door, Arak, you set the door to close behind you, and it gently does. It doesn't whoosh shut. There's no large expenditure of energy or air. The ceiling here arches to 15 feet high, in these long hallways that stretch out. Standing at a door at the top of the stairs, looking quite surprised at you, is a middle-aged man with a slightly unkempt beard, wearing gray robes and slippers. He has a crystal goblet in his hand. Not anything too fancy or ostentatious, just like dinnerware, like stemware, like nice table settings. And he's like, oh, good. I'm so glad you're... He sets down on a little table. I'm so glad you're here. I've I've been trying to figure out the command word to get out for, well, a few hours. I went and made myself a drink. My name's Matreus.
Rock points
Ours?
at him like the Spider-Man meme. You're the guy who we're trying to find.
Huh? Well, yes, well, how did, just down there, you say? Down those stairs. Well, I can see the door. And he's like moving amidst you and starting to walk down the stairs you just walked up.
Something tells me it won't be quite that easy.
Oh, this is fantastic. I'm going to go tell the others. Be careful. There's a summoning chamber, and as he opens the door, you suddenly see this flash of light from within the alcove in the library. Go ahead and everybody make a either perception or arcana or religion check. Don't read too much into that.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa, okay, your dice are here. Good. So Matreus moves down the stairs, and Elisar, you were probably right in thinking, yeah, we're in here now. He's not going to get out that easy. But he opened the door, walked out, but the act of him doing so brought something from in here out there, and it manifested, and now the door slams shut, and you see this tracery of gold energy and flames, and the staircase now ends at a stone wall. Marble, in fact. Marble like the marble fields on the north side of the Thesk Mountains. Perhaps an untapped resource for Thesk. Perhaps owing to another place and time.
As futile as it may seem, I'm going to go down and investigate the wall and see if there's any latches or anything that I can find.
Yeah, I'll send you an investigation check, and chat, feel free to laugh at him for his efforts. You know he's not going to find anything.
No, I'm not going to find anything either, but
Yeah.
something I would have to do.
And you look and you're like, it's magic. Hell, like as easy as that door opened, you could kick yourself. The door opened to your touch. It parted. It allowed you in. And
You can forgo the roll if you want to, because I don't think it's going to matter. But
I like your chances though, and there's always a chance that you'll investigation. You say?
I'm sorry, investigation, sure. Because I can't persuade it, right? Because that's my only real skill that has any value.
23.
It's magical, and although you might be able to suss out the mystery of gaining access, you feel you're stuck. The LSR, you recognized the flash and the whiff of burnt sulfur and hair, brimstone. If you're correct in your calculations, Gale, you felt that there was this breach of the barrier between worlds, that something foul has crossed over. It would make the mares sweat. It would cause the groundwater to be unpalatable and greasy. It would hasten the rot in the cheese. An imp, some sort of devil, some sort of servitor from the Nine Hells has manifested on the other side. In Candlekeep. With Matreus. Hey! You find yourself in this elegant, well-appointed foyer and hallway. On the north wall, let's use north as towards the top of the imaginary map. Just sake of comfort, extra dimensional space. Hey, like the book's name. The north wall has an indentation that quickly reveals itself to be a set of stairs going up along the right side and 5 doors. I'm going to drag some minis on the map. It's
What
going
do
to
you
be
say? 5-way split of the party?
sounds perfect. There's 5 of you. It's like it was written for you. I think that's a total win. Split
Five-way
the party.
split.
Just give me a moment to
Adventure buddy.
put all of your miniatures on the map. Let me put a rock a little further up. We're gonna have Gale down near the stairs, just for convenience sake. And hopefully this works. Let's see. Yeah. We'll go ahead and share that out to the players. The ambiance here it feels like a well-appointed salon, or it's got a very strong hotel vibe. It's not your place, but you could stay here a little while. Shaznazular, you back up, and as you look up to your right at a staircase with an ornate brass handrail, you can't help but smell something kind of good. There's some spices and rendered fat and broth. There's a smell coming out of that door to your immediate right. It must be a kitchen.
I think what we're looking for is this way.
But you do feel the pang of hunger.
I'm going to go check it out. I'm following my nose. What else are we going to do? We're trapped in here. Let's make the best of it. Let's get a meal.
Perfect. So you're opening that door?
Yeah.
Whatever we do in here, we should do it quickly. How long did the Avowed say he was missing for?
Oh, I'm giving you inspiration for catching that. And
Yeah, he said he was there for a couple hours, but they said
he said a
they
couple
said he's
hours,
gone
and he's
for
been
30
gone for a
days.
few weeks. Yeah, 3 10 days, 30 days.
Although having access to this would make reforesting some areas very fast.
I'm going to send you everybody a perception check. There we go.
Whatever it
LSR,
is, I don't see what you're getting at.
Me neither.
we'll go from low to high. Iraq, this is a nice place. It's fancy. You think you smell some food cooking. And Shaznazular, you smell food cooking. Who the hell cares? What else matters? Suddenly you're hungry. Dang it. Body. Zerai, you definitely hear movement throughout this house, although some of it sounded like it was upstairs and some of it sounded like it was down the hall. And you kind of wonder if there's something distorting sound here. Gale, you're sure that this is not natural. This entire thing is plucked from arcane willpower and words of power that hold it in place by willpower alone. It's arcane magic, so you can't necessarily trust your senses here. But LSR, you just a tiny bit higher. It's all of those things. There's other things in this mansion. Some of them may be helpful, some of them may be harmful, but all of them have been here a lot longer than you. And you could kick yourself for letting Matreus just wander the hell out. And he's probably being killed by an imp right now.
Hopefully the
Say
people are still
something about
there.
a summoning room.
He did say something about a summoning room.
You
He
did.
said, careful, there's a summoning room. So, Shaz, do you want to do you want to go in the kitchen or up the stairs?
I'm gonna go in the kitchen.
Sounds like you're opening the door to the kitchen to me.
It does, doesn't it?
Sure does. Glad for it, too. So you look into the kitchen space, and, I mean, the aromas of cooking. The door was not doing the culinary arts being perpetrated here justice. When you open the door, the aromas just assault you. There's a large iron stove that takes up most of the interior wall, and you can feel the heat off of not only the stove itself, but through this wall, now that you're standing adjacent to it. And the rest of the room is all large tables and racks, hanging pots, pans, and cooking utensils. Everything is well made and clean. The stuff that's not in use is sparkling clean. This is a kitchen that is cared for, maintained. Whoever's working here knows what they're doing and knows how to keep doing it well for a long time. And as you open the door, a chubby cherub creature, its lower body is very porcine and ends in pig hooves with a curly tail. Its upper body has wiry, muscly, very human-like arms, and its head is a blend of human and pig-like features, but there's a lot of, bullfrog mixed into this, and it's suspended by a flapping of bat wings. One of them lands on the table and looks at you. The other one, very similar, different proportions, and their wings, instead of bat-like wings, are more like dragonfly wings. And they land there, and they look at you. How can we be of help? Are you the new honored guests? The one with the dragonfly wings points with a butcher knife at you. Not in a threatening manner, but they were smashing garlic when you arrived.
Of course we are. Say,
Cooking?
what you cooking in here?
We're cooking. Mostly we cook for the cats. That's a gumbo. But there was a sage. He was hungry. We were making him something. Will he be joining us for dinner?
Unfortunately, he's tied up with something, but what were you making for him?
Oh, it's just about ready, and you hear a small bell go ding, and he flies over and pulls out, it looks like it's got mitts on his hands, and it looks like a loaf of sausage bread.
So cute.
My name is Coriander. And I'm Cumin. We are the Spicy Brothers, and we are here to cook. But we will clean or mend your clothes, but our talents are wasted on such things. That's right. We are at home in a kitchen. It's two creatures. You hear the voices coming from the scene. Zerai, you crowd in and look, and you recognize some sort of alchemical servitors. Elisar, I'm going to send the two of you some Arcana checks. And zoom back in to not play my hand to the stream or the players that might be watching it. But Shaz, you're just like, it is so handy to have small creatures that can fly in a kitchen. How awesome would it be to be back of house if you had flying help?
Oh,
Be
absolutely.
amazing.
You bring these guys with me when I leave.
That's the spirit. Oh, killing the dice now. Yes. These are homunculi. These are small, golem-crafted, summoned. There's an artificer path that includes these. There's plenty of wizardry and sorcery that includes them as well. But these are old servitors. They usually have a few skills. You don't recall them ever being used for kitchen scullery and gore. What is that smell? That smells amazing. It's like they've got an apple galette in there.
Mm.
Chicken apple dill galette. It smells like it's just about done.
That sounds terrific to me.
Please, go next door, and we will be there shortly. He points through the door, and you see Cumin goes over and opens the door to your east, and the light of the dining room spills out. And this light, it's not like there's these wall sconces that have these ornate lamps that look very much like oil and wick lamps that draw fuel with fire, but it's magical. When you walk into the kitchen, you can see the space created. There's this large expanse, and the dining room opens into a larger space that looks to be an arboretum. There's all sorts of manner of exotic plant life in this arboretum, basked in this strange amber lavender scintillating glow.
This is an awfully nice prism.
Large windows form the entirety of one wall, looking out on the three planted beds filled with vegetation. Within this room, crystal chandeliers hang above a table made of dark wood, 6 matching wooden chairs with a scarlet cushion with elegant brocade. A 7th chair sits alone in a far corner. Go in there. We're still a few hands before. And he looks, when he says hands, he instinctively looks up to this clock, which immediately chimes with a small chimera that comes out and goes cuckoo and breathes fire. Cuckoo, breathes fire. Cuckoo, breathes fire, and goes back in. We're a few hands away from having everything ready. Go. And the rest of you. And suddenly in the hallway, there's this chubby... I almost want to describe them as like a fat cherub, like a chubby imp, but not an imp, because we already had an imp. It's more like they'd be angelic if it wasn't for the snout, the hooves, and the bat wings, but they seem very friendly. You could picture him, maybe cosplaying as Cupid, but he's not doing that today. And he should probably shave his back before he does that. But he sticks his head out and motions for the rest of you to go down the hallway. So go ahead. Y'all should be able to freely move about the cabin. Move your tokens into the dining room. Sounds like quite a scene.
Well,
Indeed.
Zare sheaves her short sword. This is awkward.
Go have dinner. It's not Curse of Strahd, right?
We don't know that.
It isn't. I ran that last year, and I'm sorry to my local group. I'm so sorry if any of you are watching.
Are the utensils gonna sing us a musical number just like in Beauty and the Beast?
Only if we ask nicely.
Be our guest. Be our guest.
No more than 7 seconds, or Disney will do the rest.
Ooh.
Yeah, you can't move through the walls, y'all. You gotta stagger the movement so that it's... Yep.
I'm trying. All these man-made structures, really.
Well, this is worse than man-made. This is like magic-made. There. Now you can move about freely while you're in that chamber. How's that sound? Perfect.
It looks quite purple or fuchsia. It's hard to tell.
So, Rock, do you sit down at the table? There's no food on the table, but there are some condiments. There is cutlery. It's not animated and singing you catchy numbers. It's there is some oil and vinegar, a a block of nutmeg and a grater, a pepper mill, and a small bowl with a small silver spoon of salt.
A rock probably sits down just because, he's been standing around all day, basically like staring at books, and now something familiar, a table with possibly food later. So he sits there.
How many days is this meal going to take?
That's a great question.
Is it a universal rate of temporal transference? Maybe. Could be. That's magic you're pretty sure is above your pay grade. LSR,
Maybe we'll come out before we went in.
Wouldn't that be convenient, especially from a leveling perspective? Just, save and grind it.
So can I identify any of the plants that are growing down there? Anything look familiar to me?
So it's like when I described it as a window, what I really meant was it's more like a 9 glass panel set into 3 rows. It's like a roll-up glass door of windows, so that you have a view of the garden, but you're not down in the garden. So the types of plants, there's flowering shrubs, and even in the odd distorted purple amber light that is flickering in from this outside in this extra dimensional space, it's unnatural. But even in that odd color, you can see the variation in forms and all of the dazzling shrubs and flowers. There's small trees between paved paths. It's like a semicircular patio, and there's blossoms everywhere, and you can actually see little bits of the pollen sort of hanging in the air. I'm gonna send you a perception check though. The DC's not high, but you're making this check at advantage, and you know what? I don't have to tell you why. At disadvantage, I should say. No, you made it at advantage. You would have dropped an 11, and that still made it. Dang it. You rolled 2 11s. How's that? I mean, it didn't matter. Something is flying around in there, bigger than a bird, smaller than a Boston Terrier.
About the size of a bread box.
It was bread box sized, absolutely. So Gale, is anyone else sitting down? It looks like only a rock has sat down and has knife in one hand, fork in the other. Cut the crap, let's bring on the grub.
Yeah, LSR will sit down.
Okay.
Gale's gonna wander around and pace.
You go to walk into the garden and see that there are 9 windows that separate you from the garden. You're near the side of the wall where there's a mechanism. You could actually unlock the mechanism and winch up these glass doors to open it up to the garden if you want to, but you can't just walk through into the garden itself. Maybe that other door went around if you wanted to leave this dining hall and go into the garden through another means.
No, just pop my head into this door where the 2 cooks are and ask them about the garden door or the mechanism.
Oh, he wipes his hands off on an apron that he wasn't wearing before, but you're really glad he's wearing now. He goes, I would stay out of the garden until after sunset. And he does the little human quotes thing to indicate, yeah. He's got hands up top, hooves down below. He's like a half-formed demonic mullet.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. And,
There's something
yeah, I'll
flying around
take
out
that.
there, I say to you.
Yeah. If the people that are already here say don't go out there, that's enough.
Rock, this is weird. The lights are strange. You feel like it's like that time you went into a theater and you didn't understand theater tricks and you thought what you were seeing on the stage was real. So you started to reach for your dagger and Gail touched your elbow and said, "No, it's a show. It's a show. I'm just here to get my medicine." And then, you made friendly with theater people later, but you were really believing it was real what you were seeing. This is lighting of that sort. So this must be some sort of show, some sort of play.
Yeah.
But I'm still going to let you make this. What's your passive perception? Everyone's favorite question to hear.
Enough?
At least
Do I
a
give you the actual
37.
number?
It's a 12. I looked.
It's a 12, yeah.
But the good news is I'm going to let you make this perception to see if you see the reflection in your butter knife. So good luck. We're all counting on you.
There we go.
So you're sitting there, got the knife in your hand, and that chair, it looks like the chair just made itself a little more comfortable. Sort of shuffled back into place, like walked back into place, and one of its cushions goes and reforms as a more accurate copy of the cushion of the chair you're sitting across from. And you're not sure you want to eat anymore. But the good news is you get to roll initiative. Everybody does. If you shout out, but I'm only going to let you say 3 words. What do you say to trigger everybody that something's about to go down?
Guys, things are happening.
Oh, that was 4. Too late. But now y'all get to roll initiative.
Guys, things are
Alive. Mimics.
Technically, if you contract the R, things are
things are.
just one word.
Things are afoot.
I'm gonna wait for y'all to go.
Yeah, so Zare did not sit down. She's backed up to the corner and kind of leaned up against it because she doesn't trust this. And also, she's always been told never eat in a place if you haven't met the host. So.
Oh. Well, that is handy.
That kind of makes sense, but I always just kind of grab things when the opportunity arises.
The chair, the cushion starts hopping up and down from the seat of the chair, and the tassels quickly become fangs as this long velvet rope that reminds you of Candlekeep begins swimming out tongue-like from between the teeth. And the first person to be able to react will be Elisar.
All right. Also, I noticed that I have 2 versions of my magic armor. We may want to remove one of them.
Well, that's nice. There you go.
All right.
Mage armor, backup mage armor.
For when mage armor isn't enough.
So,
more mage armor.
How much does Elisar know about mimics?
I'll send you an Arcana check because that's what I think is best for governing magical beasts, and that is surely what this is. I'm going to send it to you. It's an Arcana check, DC 12. If you make it, I'll tell you a little bit about them. If you make it by 5, and you did, I'll tell you more. You know what mimics are. They are often found, like the most common denominator is as a chest or sometimes a barrel, less frequently a chair or door. But you have heard of them manifesting usually as furniture. And they have adhesive properties, and they can surprisingly wallop you with a great deal of blunt force trauma. And they can eat
light
you.
on force.
They're also pretty nasty. If you made it by 10, I'd tell you even more about them. But I think that's enough for as far as
Yeah, that's some good info.
what you know about chairs that aren't chairs.
Well, time to go with Old Reliable over here. And try casting Firebolt on it.
Okay. Solid hit. Yeah, you deliver the bolt and it just flares out and strikes the creature for decent damage. And it looks like that all affected it. So if it does have any sort of resistances, that got through him.
Mm-hmm.
And it recoils for just a moment. The top of the chair starts to look like a sort of spiked throne made out of swords, and then it gets over itself and it's not a fan anymore.
And I will also try to reposition myself to put as much between me and that mimic as possible. So I'm going to try to get over to like this corner.
Oh, conveniently right by the winch that operates the doors to the garden, just in case you want to open another door. Cool.
All right.
Nicely done. Up next is Gale.
Oops, I
Gale,
did not mean to do that. Let me just...
I got you.
Well, shit. I mean,
So Gale,
I
You're-
want to open the door and ask the cooks for help. But at the same time, if they're the ones letting us in this room, maybe they won't help.
I don't know,
Don't know.
you've got a lot of information. You're coming to some conclusions based on it. But what you
Yeah.
want to do is approach the door, you said, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Ignore that roll.
Fun.
Okay.
Let me. Yeah, I'm gonna knock on the door. Using. What do
Like a polite knock
I-
or...
No, with my club. Just gonna,
Okay.
In a hey, there's an emergency out here sort of way.
Yeah, we understand you're hungry. We're hurrying. We're plating. Hands busy. And you hear more grumblings in chef. They're grumbling in head chef right now.
Yeah. Okay. Can I open the door?
Sure can.
Yeah, I'm gonna open the door then.
They look like they're trying to cut the chicken apple feta galette.
Yeah. Are these mimics out here tame?
Mimics. We don't have any mimics here, and this is food for you people. We're not cooking for mimics. Oh no, like mimic palates are very rarefied. You never know, they might want to eat like a gnome. They say there's no race like gnome for the hollandaise, but we don't know how to make it, and we have been told not to explicitly by order of Fistandia. No need to tell them who we work for. You're right. I'm sorry. When you're right, you're right. I'll get back to working on this. They go back to mincing some chives.
Was that loud enough for everyone to hear or just Gale?
Gale and Iraq, but Iraq doesn't speak chef.
The cooks don't seem to think there's anything wrong out here. But they're also said that they're not trying to eat us. I'm confused. Let's just not hit anything until it tries to hit us.
It's a little late for
Okay,
that.
Gale. Gale, you still got your action, so I'll say you held your action. That was all movement and soliloquy.
Yep.
All right. All right, a rock.
I think Arak would follow Gale, but also he would stand up from where he was seating and just like move here.
Like right onto the mimic, because that's
Oh, that's the mimic. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, we move
There.
closer to Gale then, like there.
Okay. The mimic was kind of close to you.
Hmm.
Saying if you move towards Gale, it might take a poke at you.
That's fine because then at least Gale would know, or everyone would know that it was trying to harm people.
Oh, you're right. And that is good, and we are about to reveal that because it's going to swing at you with a pseudopod. And hit you. The big old sticky tongue that looks like velvet rope covered in booger juice.
Well, now we know. Now we know that it's harmful.
It
Listen, wizards shoot fireball first, ask questions later.
it thumped you pretty good there. Ooh, yeah.
Its horrible teeth was what clued me into how dangerous it was.
Gale doesn't know these things.
No.
Yeah,
That's the good
Arak
news.
just got whomped. So
Yeah, you're
it's
aware
just
of the
like-
creature though, so it's not able to do when it can catch you off guard. It can do that and then glue you to it and then bring you in for a bite. But since you were moving away from it and it's already been activated in its mimic, predator form, it just thrashed at you with that and didn't actually grab you. That's the good news I have. My good news ends here. Before the mimic goes, Gale, did you wish to take your held action?
Yes, I shall now produce flame and fire it off at it.
All right. Go ahead and give us some of that bean footage.
Is it on a combat tracker?
It is on the combat tracker. There's
Yes.
just no tile for it.
Well.
If
a
you drop it
13 hit?
on the combat tracker.
Yeah.
I see a tile for it on the map.
Hope so.
I don't.
Let me try resharing, see if that helps. We are connecting a number of virtual spaces throughout all of the cosmos. Well, at least this planet.
Ooh, exciting. Okay, it just didn't have like a thing around it. Did a 13 hit?
Try this way then.
Oh yeah, okay, I see it now. It's a cleverly disguised mimic. Okay.
There we go. Hopefully y'all see it now.
I saw it for a moment and then it disappeared.
Yeah.
It reappeared for me.
It should be visible. It's probably sounding just like a little bit of synchronization stuff's going on. But Arak, you didn't get to act. You just moved. If you want to throw something at it or, finish off by being like, oh yeah, so you want to bite me? Go up and smack it. You can do that too.
Did the flame hit it?
The original flame when you... Oh, the produce flame?
Yeah, Gales.
Oh, I'm looking now. Oh yeah, its armor class is lower than the roll indicated. So yes.
Okay.
More fire and more fire.
Yes.
Never let it be said that a druid can't burn a forest down.
It shall take 3 damage. I still can't get the token, so
Well, we'll worry about it. It's okay. I can do math.
some
right.
other time.
You have burned some of its tissue, and it goes from looking like burnt wood to looking like purple mottled crispy flesh, and it's trying to hold one form over the other, but it's less chair now and more just bitey beastie.
Hey Matt, if you click the target enemy units button, does it work? Like at the very top?
Yeah, hold on.
It does.
Yep. Okay.
All right.
Cool.
So the mimic is going to now go. And it already decided that the biggest and best source of protein around here is a rock heart smasher, and moves up
Mhm.
to try to bite. A ka-chomp, and it misses you completely. You pull back with your quarterstaff like, what was that? It did open its mouth so wide at one point you thought you might be able to jam its mouth open with your quarterstaff, but it snapped and missed. Go ahead.
I did hold my action, right? I didn't do anything just yet till then. So now that it's shown itself to me and it's about to attack, can I smack it still with my quarterstaff?
Do it. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Give me a moment. Actions.
Yeah.
That was almost a crit. Almost.
19 on the die. 7 points of solid damage. Yeah, it recoils. You can tell that you've hurt it and that you've affected it. It's this thing can be brought down.
It took a bite at me, so I'm just gonna smack it.
It took a bite. It smacked you with its tongue pretty hard too, but
Yeah.
if it had
I'm not
coordinated
raging
those.
just yet.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Elisar, before we let the timing of this get away from us, go ahead and send you a perception check. See if you notice something happening in your,
All right.
we'll say vicinity. Cool. All right, Zerai.
All right, Zerai draws one of her short swords and moves in towards the mimic with almost like a dance-like grace, and she is attacking it once. And that's a miss, but it was a clever feint because she gives Shaz a bardic inspiration point.
All
Okay,
right.
nice. Now that may turn out to save the day here.
All right. So drop this on this guy. Now I can use that inspiration point for. What can I use that for?
Give me one sec. I know you can use it to an attack roll or a skill check, I'm pretty sure. But let me double check that for.
You hit with the short bow though.
Yeah. Can I get a sneak attack damage because it's engaged with 5 feet of the other people?
Sure, I'm going to say you crouch down below the chair and see that it's engaging and then pop up over the table, let the shot go.
Right now.
Yeah.
Right now, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Right now, bardic inspiration is you can add it to one ability check, attack roll, or saving throw up for the next, and you can use it. You just have to use it within the next 10 minutes, I believe.
Okay. Perfect. So my sneak attack die is just a d6, right?
So far. Yeah, y'all are still first level. Close to second level, but not quite there. Oh, that's incredibly solid damage. So the arrow just sinks into it, and you see its velvet rope becomes a tongue, becomes an octopus tentacle, becomes a malformed hand, and it's very unhappy about that shot. You get the feeling that it's pretty badly wounded at this point.
Good. I am done with my turn. That will suffice for a turn.
Top of the round, Elisar.
Can't hurt to try again. Firebolt.
Second verse, same as the first. That's a big solid hit. Dirty 20. Near max damage. This one hits the chair, and its It's an ottoman. It's a footstool. It's a tiny chest. It's a barrel. It's small
It's
pile of ash.
cinders.
Small pile of ash. And its mass is greatly reduced as its corpse immolates, desiccates, drops. And then it's at that moment that you realize a counterweight has been pulled and the entire window goes and flies up into the space above, and the garden is now open. And numerous small creatures flit and dart about and begin to make their way closer to you. It's going
I
to be
do
a
not want that to happen.
it's going to be a fresh initiative roll. Woohoo. Yeah, that's what's happening. Yeah, you see him? How cool is that? So the good news is you all get to roll initiative again, and the mimic is dead. This could have been worse if it was back to back. It is back to back. It could have been worse if it was simultaneous. But I am going to go ahead and send that to you. Or that. I like to give you all the ability to roll. There we go. Initiative.
Initiative just is not my strong point.
Sometimes it's best to hide.
I'm standing right in front of the window, though. I wanted to go first so I could get out of there.
But it looks like a...
Oh, it's so cute.
They are kind of cute, aren't they? The those were they butterflies you thought you saw earlier? They turned out to be some sort of Draco form that may or may not be too happy that you're here. May consider this its lair. May consider you trespassers. The good news is, Zerai, you go first. These orange butterfly dragons, a little bigger than bread boxes.
Have I seen one of these? Do I know what this is? Maybe, possibly.
I'll say you recognize it as some sort of Draco form. You think maybe a pseudo dragon. So far, everything you've seen in here now makes you think of there's a commonality amongst these creatures. But yeah, you don't have to make a roll to recognize a fairy dragon.
I move up next to Shaz. I spend my action dodging and taking like a defensive sword fighter stance. Oh, there's one right there too.
As you move up close, this one did not roll a high enough stealth to get past your passive perception, and you see it shimmering in the pollen.
Yeah, I take my action and dodge, taking like a defensive stance, and then I am, I'm going to say, hold up my hand and say, "We mean no harm." In common.
In common?
Yeah.
Okay. I will send you we'll say a persuasion roll. You're attempting some form of diplomacy. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to make the result of this hidden to you, though. Oop. Yeah. Nice.
And I'm done.
Okay. Elisar? Looked like on the other side of this door was a counter mechanism to bring the windows up much quicker. You did notice one of the fairy dragons was pulling it free.
Gotcha.
And Shaznazular, you now realize that's why it was hard to see out here. They were probably invisible.
It makes the sense.
Okay, Elisar.
So Elisar's gonna take a defensive strategy here, and again try to create some distance between the dragon and himself. So he is going to cast Gust to push the fairy dragon directly east of him, 1 square away.
Okay.
It's a DC 13 strength check, but I'll cast it on it. Hold on. Here we go.
Yeah, he failed that save. And looks like he made it at advantage, but couldn't overcome the power of your magic. You know these creatures, they're probably resistant to magic, but you got through. So what's the effect there?
It pushes it back 1 square.
Out onto the balcony.
Yeah, pesky little dragons. And then he is going to, again, try to move away.
Okay. Yeah, you
And
are
that'll
able
be-
to.
Yeah, that'll be it for his turn.
Okay. It's Gale's turn.
Ooh,
Gale,
exciting.
on the other side of the door, you hear somebody just slid a deadbolt into place.
Oh,
Huh. Getting some mixed signals here.
Could just be the chef doesn't want to talk to front of house until the order's ready. It's too late to go. I don't want to hear about an allergy when I'm about to plate. I mean, it's too late.
So Gale is going to cast guidance
Okay.
onto Zare.
Is that what's the range on that?
Let's make sure it has a range. Let's. Oh, touch. I have to.
I mean, you could scramble
reach out
across
and
the
touch
table
them.
we're under it.
or under the table. I mean,
Under the table's more of a
Sure.
Gale move.
yeah, it's just I'm just gonna say it's difficult terrain as you move through. Like you don't have to make a roll. It's just gonna cost you double to move under the
Yep.
table. All right.
I'm under the table. I just reach out to like their calf or something, and it's like, good luck.
I mean, she's fit. She dances. She does CrossFit.
And that's a D4 to a skill check.
Guidance allows you to do the following, but please consult your local physician. Targets can roll a d4 and add the number rolled to one ability check of its choice. It can roll the die before or after making the check.
There you go. Awesome. Okay. Is that it for your turn?
So that is my action, and
And most of your movement.
most of my movement. In the realm of bonus actions, yeah, that's it.
Okay. So fairy dragons are strange Draco forms in that they have as much in common with dragons as they do with fairies. They're not inherently evil or even particularly malicious, but these two do seem to be attacking you as if you have stumbled into their garden. Never mind the fact that one of them opened the door to do that. They may see the entire mansion as their garden. Even though they're more fairy, it just seems that you may have gotten them wrong. Both of them move up, and one of them puffs out its chest and rears back its head. Serpentine fashion. Almost reminds you of a bookmark. And then exhales this gout of what at first looks like sparkling pollen. And it has targeted many of you. Oh, I'm sorry. Just one of you. Shaznazular, you are being targeted with its breath weapon. So I'm going to drop the saving throw on you. We'll see if you make it. Nat 20! Woo! It breathes out this cloud, and you smell it. At first, it smells like perfume and carnival and sweetbread and dates and the good times and revelry. And you shake it off. You're like, that's not the truth. You shrug it off. You do not succumb to its breath weapon. And then as it snaps back its very dragon-like head, its butterfly wings slow down. You see it just flutters out of visibility.
Huh.
And the second fairy dragon, looking over, flapping its wings, starts moving its claws in a manner that, Zerai, you'd swear it was about to cast a spell. So, wow, do you get a saving throw?
Not for sleep. That's what you're using.
It's not sleep,
Okay.
but I like what you're saying. I'm just kind
Of
of
course you do.
I mean, I do. Oh wow,
Is it color spray?
It is.
Yeah, I have color spray.
Yeah, then you recognize it as it comes blasting at your face.
Oh, isn't that color spray?
15-foot cone, so that's going to include Arak, Gale, Zerai, and Shaznazular. All four of you are... We're talking about 41 hit points. Let's count them up. It's Nighty Nights time, as all four of you... Rock?
There's no save?
None. 14... Gale under the table. That's 22. Shaz, 31. 40. I rolled high enough for it to knock all four of you unconscious. So you saw that one breathe, and you're like, no, I'm not buying any of that. That's a place that doesn't exist. That's not real. And it fans its wings and turns invisible and flutters away. And Shaznazular, you're like, okay, I shrugged it off. And then this cloud issues out of the other one, except this one's more just a stream, a myriad, a prism of colors and blinding light. And it's like falling asleep under a tree in the park. But it's definitely falling
That time I tried
asleep.
those mushrooms while I was running through the desert.
So all four of you fall asleep. And this is a great place to take our last break. This one's going to be 10 minutes. We're going to grab fresh beverages, hit the bathroom. We suggest you do the same. Heathens, thank you for staying with us, and we look forward to the exciting conclusion. Come on back. We'll be back in 10. All right. Hi. Welcome back, everybody. Ready for the final act of tonight's stream, the Biblio Files. I'm Asmo Daniker. I'm your host and DM, and the party has entered a variation on Mordenkainen's extra-dimensional hangout that we have decided to call the, what was it? Swanky?
The swanky manor, swanky mansion.
Swanky Mansion. Swanky Manor.
The swank mansion. That's what it was.
Yeah, and they encountered a couple of very helpful homunculi who were ready to be short order cooks. Seemed like they had a lot of food already ready to go. The sage Matreus, skirted past them and left, sealing the deal and sealing them inside as he dealt with the aftermath of the extraplanar exchange of energies that sometimes happens with conjuration magic of this sort. So while they sat down to dinner, one of the chairs seemed a little too eager to seat them, and in fact animated as a mimic. While they dispatched the mimic rather handily, it didn't get the drop on them. A couple of fairy dragons hanging out in the garden seemed less than happy to see them. One of them attempted to breathe into Shaznazular's face and have him succumb to the euphoria gas, and he would have just sat there all blissed out like way too many indica bong hits. But he made the saving throw, and he said, I ain't feeling that. I'm about this wakefulness. I like this right now. The other one, however, cast color spray and rolled very, very high, 1 point higher than necessary to blind all of them. So while they fumbled and stumbled about, at first they thought they'd been knocked unconscious, but they realize now that they are, in fact, just blinded, which is also pretty horrible. And it is Shaznazular's turn, and you are, in fact, unable to see. You get to make a saving throw at the end of your turn, but do you want to do anything while you're blinded?
Yes, I do. I still have no weapon in my hand. I do, but I had my bow. But I'm just going to hold up my hand and say, we mean you no harm. We did not come for you. We're trapped here. This is a misunderstanding.
What do you say that in? What language?
Well, I have a choice of common or undercommon, so I'm going to go with common.
Okay.
So I'm going to attempt to be persuasive.
I want to see the look on Zarai's face when you drop some undercommon. When we get to that point, I'm just saying, seems like a moment. Could be some drama there. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to say.
I'm going to use my my bardic inspiration with that as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to
add an extra d6 die on there or something. Can you do that, or I'll throw it separate and we'll add it up, whatever.
We'll throw it separate and add it up for high drama, but I'm about to send you this this persuasion roll.
Oh, definitely.
And now the stakes are higher because you failed, but you made it because of the bardic inspiration. Oh, excuse me. So while you're blind, you say this, and that same voice that you heard say, liars, 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 says, we've been lied to before, but we do not wish to harm you. We will back off and hear what you have to say. The other one says, but I'm in position to bite one of them. No biting. Just the happy gas and the goodnight kiss.
So yeah, we were here looking for someone, and we got trapped here, and we just kind of stumbled into your garden. It was not our intention to harm you. We'll leave you alone if you just let us walk away. We'll leave you be.
With that, they've both turned invisible now. You've seen them flicker out. You understand in your eyes. It wasn't so much like you were blind from the color spray. It wasn't like boom, your sight was shut off. It was more like the last image you saw was just so powerfully superimposed on your brain that you didn't register any visual data ahead of time. It was exactly like when you're on a head full of psychedelics playing with a camera flash in your friend's pitch black basement.
What are you talking about?
I don't recommend that. We cannot condone any
Oddly
sort of
specific.
activities.
Or a
Oddly
strobe
specific, or a strobe light with your eyes closed and your heads leaning forward down to that alpha state of synchronization, possibly with some industrial dance music.
Weird flex, but okay.
Weird flex, but okay. Not everybody could survive this skinny puppy tunnel, as we used to call it. We would throw a blanket over our heads with this strobe light and zone out on some music that would quite literally scour out the inside of your brain like Comet Cleanser. But after the end, you felt quite sparkling. Anyway, very
Felt as if
specific.
My chest would just
And
fall
that
open.
is the best way I can convey what the color spray spell did to the four of you as you were dazzled about with these after images playing in your mind's eye. LSR, you saw them stumbling about and you're like, they're tripping. like they look like they got a head full of wrong information from the fairy folk. And they come to. The interruption is that the deadbolt slaps back into place, the door bursts open, and out fly two homunculuses that begin to lay down armfuls, each of them carrying perfectly balanced 2 trays of food, and they are laying it down. One of them has mitts and comes out with a tureen of soup, and they make multiple rounds as they take time to fully accommodate the table and fly back in to the kitchen and then bolt the door.
I'm going to ask the fairy dragons if they'd like to join us for some food.
What? We'd really be interested in those sweet treats that are there. That tart looks amazing. And the other one
does,
already
right?
jumps
Come
up on the
try it out.
table, and you see the food beginning to get thrown about as he rematerializes visibly because he's making attack rolls against the food. And you sit down and realize you are just one chair short. The mimic was a real chair. There'd have been room for everybody. But one of the dragons seems perfectly content to lay on the table, much like a house cat, while everybody's trying to eat. The other one is flying around and trying to be a social butterfly, as it were. And you have the most curious first meal here in this oddly enchanting mansion. So I'm going to drop a well-earned short rest on everybody.
Gail's going to continue their paranoia ritual of casting Purify Food and Drink as a ritual.
Okay.
Just
Rock
'cause they
tries to
don't
feed
trust
one
it.
of the dragons.
A rock tries to eat what?
A rock tries to feed one of the dragons.
Oh, they seem to be turning their nose up at any meat other than the chicken. They'll eat a little chicken, but they seem much more interested in the honey cakes and the plum pudding
Galette.
and the galette. They're all about that galette.
Well,
And-
a rock doesn't like sweets, so he offers them his dessert.
And it's at that moment you realize that the dill, the tarragon, like all of these herbs are growing in their garden. So fairy dragons are quite happy to be your guests. And you have made a couple of allies here in Festandia's magnificent mansion. When your meal has concluded, a small door under the main door opens, and you hear the homunculi say, "Just slide under the empty, and we'll get to work on cleaning the crockery."
Yeah, we're also pretty good at washing dishes. Full service. And, if you want to throw a tip in, that'd be okay too.
Someday we're going to get out of here, and we're going to... And he closes, like, they move out of conversational range, but you do hear a little bit of that. Gives you the impression that maybe they've been here a long while. These two homunculi, coriander and cumin.
Huh.
I'm going to ask
What,
one of the fairy dragons, whichever one is closest to me. How long have you been here?
What is time? We
count 7 cycles of a sun. But we're not in a world where even that makes sense, are we? The other one just starts giggling, apparently high on their own supply, as their euphoria gas and quite like comically overstuffed large belly, they just roll back and simultaneously expel their breath weapon and fart comically as they roll under the table.
Amazing. Yeah, no, Gail would give a tip for the service because it's the good thing to do. It was
What do you?
full service?
Yeah, totally. What do you offer as a tip in such a situation, though? What's that look like?
That I don't know.
We talking
I mean,
coins?
There are coin. Let's see what else I have. I have a herbalism kit. Could I perhaps have, a stack of coins, maybe a few gold, but also like tastefully put on maybe like dried coriander seeds and some dried cumin seeds like on top of it.
A little like some of the Nigella sativa, the black cumin seeds.
Yep.
Oh, the good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they slide the door open, take the trays, slide it back, and then slide open. Go. Many thanks. Fresh stocks, yes. And they are excitedly chittering about what recipes they can try. Yeah, Rock, if you want to spend a hit die during this short rest to heal from the bludgeoning damage you took from a chair, mimic tongue.
Okay, let's do that.
You're fine.
Oh, hey.
You're fine. You're fine. So, mechanically, you may have accrued enough XP from what you've done to level, but I got to be a stickler for something I like to call, wake me up before you go. And you're going to need to get that long rest before you get that level up. Long rest might be hard to find in here, but you do know where to find a good meal. You don't feel like you've overstayed your welcome, but you're thinking you may have gotten what knowledge you can from them. The dragons share with you that they are not yet 10 years old, and that their coloration will change as they age and mature. Elisar, go ahead and make me either a history or arcana, your choice.
All right.
And this absolutely concerns the book that you were sent to Baldur's Gate to allow a team to be arranged to escort and then to insert yourself into that team. So it didn't look like you were responsible for the transport of said book. Talking about Robin's second treatise.
Let's go with history for some variety.
Okay. Oh, spicy. 22. Robin was a powerful magic user more than a century ago. A human, but beloved by several elf clans in the High Forest. It's said that she saved a good deal of their number in Unicorn Run, and that she treated with the High Elves on the Star Mountains as well. But the curious tidbit you're thinking now is her first familiar was a cat, and many folks thought her second was as well. Do you know the truth? Robin's second familiar was after we had access to that really cool issue of Dragon Magazine, and she got a fairy drake as hers. So you realize now that you have it looked like a cat to most people, but this legendary magic user whose second book you now have at Candlekeep had one of these as her familiar. And then you wonder for just a moment. Maybe it's all the fey creature belchings or exhalations. Something in the air. But you start to wonder speculatively, fancifully, if maybe one of these two was her familiar. Nah. These fairy drakes aren't more than 10 years old.
What is time in this place? 3 days was 3 weeks. 3 hours? 3 hours was 3 weeks.
You know, they said they're 7 years old. They could be 700 years old if they've been in here long enough.
Yeah, strange. I mean, who knows? It's a mystery. But they seem to want to go hang out in the garden, even though the sky is not real. It is just a scintillating vaporwave fantasy. They want to sleep off their good food buzz in their garden. They leave you to ponder, what next?
I think it's time for a little tour of the other doors.
I'm with you on that one.
Agreed.
On to the next one.
Okay.
Shall we just move
Yeah.
freely about the cabin?
I like that. I like that idea in this case. Shaz sort of jump into the party, disrupt your whole scene.
Damn right.
Now you've crowded. So Shaz, you get back over towards that stairwell that you were in, or that you were staring at before, and notice it's the edge of your vision. I feel like it's playing games with you. Like it's dark, maybe magically dark. Maybe there's other magics at play here. But you get the feeling you don't want to wander up this stairwell until the wizards and magic folk have had a look at it. Just something about the way it disappears into this impossible ascending darkness bothers you.
I'm going to look back, and without saying anything, I'm just going to wave somebody up and tell them to look at it.
Elisar comes up and looks up there as well. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right, Elisar, go ahead and make me an Arcana check. Yeah, that's it's not a magical darkness spell. It's much more high level, and it's much more varied in its form. It's a variation on an abjuration spell known as Guards and Wards. And this distortion of visibility is just one of the many facets, one of the many forms that protection spell comes with. It's a broad spectrum security system that wizards put on their homes to disrupt, mislead, entrap, and sometimes even harm intruders. The Guards and Wards spells limit seems to be those stairs. So it doesn't seem like the first floor is under the effects of that spell, but the floor above is.
And so, would Elisar be familiar with the way that spell works?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm
So
familiar
then-
enough.
So then he would know, like, wizards use it to, like, guard their spaces, and generally, like, there's a passcode to undo the effects, kind of.
Certain command words will dampen the effects in a given area. It's a large area of effect. It covers sometimes entire towers, entire floors of buildings. But you know that proper command word given will make the speaker and sometimes those in their area safe from its effects. You don't know if Scepter is the same one for this,
A wise wizard wanted to reuse the password.
Maybe they'd reuse a variation on it so they can remember it. But it's the good news is it doesn't seem to be affecting this floor. But might have some
Elisar
other
would at the
stuff.
very least warn Shaznazar not to go upstairs yet.
And Shaz, that feels right. Like you're like that's exactly what you were thinking.
I'm muted, but yes, I agree.
Okay.
Let's check out the bottom floor first,
Okay.
and we'll tackle the upstairs
Let's
later
check
if we
this
have
door.
So the door to this room is not fully closed. In fact, it's left ajar, and if you didn't know, like if somebody blindfolded you, spoke the command word, walked you up the stairs, closed the door behind them, all that, Matreus would have left. If you didn't know, you would think that you just wandered into yet another alcove with floor to ceiling books, because the entire far wall of this room is just a bookshelf. Even more books rest on several large scarlet armchairs and several, small wooden tables. There's chairs in the books. There's chairs on the tables next to the chairs on the tables next to the chairs. Or books on, not chairs. There's books everywhere. Books in the chairs. Books on the tables next to the chairs. Somebody who had so many books to go through that they just ended up pacing and leaving them open about the room. There's one chair that seems to have a healthy-sized, fluffy, black cat curled up in it. No books in this chair, and the cat's asleep.
Oh,
And it's the chair closest to the door.
it's a baby.
Do you say that when you walk in?
Yes.
Opens one eye, halfway stretches, goes back to coiled up, serpentine in space. No one can hear you scream alien style with its tail coiled up under its head.
So, do any of the books or anything stand out in any way? Like, can I do a perception to see if anything, or an investigation to see if anything looks amiss?
It would definitely be more investigation. But what you're realizing is there's about 600 books in this room.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take you some time. You're not going to suss it out quickly. But the cat doesn't give sweet fuck all about any of that. The cat wants attention now, because now you enter the room. The cat is awake, sits up, contemplates, cocks head to the side, opens up its luscious yellow pumpkin eyes, and hops down off the chair to come up to you and begin coiling around you and meowing. More purr than meow, but a few meows escaped.
That's so adorable.
Is anybody else making their way downtown, moving fast? Making their way down this corridor? I don't want to miss anybody's chance to meet a kitty.
A rock probably would. He heard the meow and he's going to go to the kitty.
Okay.
Gail at the entrance might just try speaking in like Sylvan at the cat, in case it's like that fairy dragon that you mentioned earlier.
You should try your Sylvan, your wood tongue. You should try that wood tongue on the fairy dragons next time too. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have to wait a few more hours before Gale starts showing everyone the wood tongue.
I don't know. We'll see if Coriander has any brandy.
So Gale will just say, excuse me, may I come in? Just in Sylvan to the cat.
The cat is alternating between affection from a rock and affection from Elisar, and you move into the room and cross down, and the cat is happy to greet you as well. Shaznazular, you're starting to think cat people. But Zerai, you're about to go. I'll be like, fine, I'll go check out the cat. But as I say that, the door to the kitchen, the top door, because now you realize it's a split double door, opens, and Cumin is standing there with a small ceramic ramekin. It says,
if you come across a cat, you should probably give the cat this.
And this ramekin looks to be full of chopped crab and shrimp.
This cat is living well.
Yeah, this cat has expensive
Luxury.
taste.
Cat's got a champagne budget, or champagne taste, but a beer budget. Now the cat's eating better than some of us, but yeah, hands you this ramekin full of chopped seafood of high quality.
Zray rocks to the door, and she doesn't have a triangle, so she just plucks a couple strings on her harp and says that she has, time for dinner. And she'll put the ramekin down on the floor at her feet in the doorway.
Okay. No offense to all the happy cat folk that were getting to know the kitty, but it is just no longer interested in you as it just goes to town on the bowl of seafood. While it eats, you have time to check out this room. And in this room, it doesn't take you long before, Elisar, you realize all these books, almost all these books, have the same author. In some cases, the same handwriting. But they're all books from a wizard named Fistandia. And Fistandia, you're starting to realize she was a powerful mage. You remember hearing the name. There's something you're not quite recalling. Or are you? It's time for dice. Arcana or history, your choice.
Let's go with history.
Not your best work. Total of 10. It's it's. You don't think she was at Candlekeep, or for not for long. You do remember hearing or you remember seeing her name written down somewhere, but you're not too sure on the details. But there's more to it, and Zerai, you start to that name may be like a cipher. There's something familiar about that name to you as well. You've heard it before. You're sure of it. So, for those just listening, we've got garbage rolls back to back. Garbage roll. Wow, just the high polished taste of mediocrity. Nothing great. No mystery solved here. The cat's happy to eat. You take some time in this space, and there's more to be learned here, but it's probably going to take you a little longer than just the amount of time it takes for a cat to eat. So tell me how much time you want to devote to checking out this room. So far, you've been in here 10 minutes.
Can we, does it look like the kind of room that we could just kind of take shifts watching the door and take a long rest in?
Maybe a long rest. There might be some risk.
I'm just gonna throw out that to the party. Do you guys want to like rest here for a little bit while Elisar investigates the books and take some time to figure out what's going on in here?
If we want a place to rest, maybe we ask the coriander and cumin where the best places. They might have opinions on this.
And with that, off camera, you hear shh, shh, kitchen's closed.
It was so good the DM had to cut off the option.
Salute.
Looks like we have to solve this one on our own.
I'm just trying to massage in some verisimilitude, okay? Just saying that the world's going to make its own choices with or without you sometimes, but y'all are special. You're
Elisar's going to
protagonists.
suggest that the others check out the other rooms while he peruses the books, and he will make a statement complaining about the fact that no wizard yet has made a speed reading spell, which is just ridiculous for wizards.
Surely a
Gil's
wizard on another world has.
Ooh. Gale is going to spend some time actually examining the cat to see if they're a normal cat or something else.
Sounds like you're trying to write a nature check. Let's see if it cashes. It's not a high DC to tell if a creature is, a normal cat. Yeah, it's a big, healthy cat, but it does not appear to be a shape-shifted creature. It's not something inhabiting a cat. It is slightly spoiled, has 7 toes on each of its front paws, is a little larger specimen of cat, but is absolutely just a big, fluffy tomcat with pumpkin eyes. No collar. Clean. He's you can tell he's an indoor cat.
Yeah.
Everything's indoor here.
Gale will do a quick once-over of the bookshelves, not really looking at the titles, but looking at the material of the spine, seeing if any of them seem familiar from the journal they once transported.
Okay. Sure. Send you a nature roll on that too then. It's the materials aren't too exotic. None of them look particularly rare. They all seem to be well-sourced, replenishable resources. There's some saps and some starches. There's the most exotic thing is this tuber that is sometimes mashed in with this straw substrate and then pressed to make this really nice wood binding glue. But it's non-toxic and it smells pleasant and it doesn't decay over time. These are well-made books with an ecologist's heart in mind.
Well, surely nothing harmful could be written on such responsibly sourced books. So, Gale will leave the area and follow people into whatever other doors they explore.
Okay. A few paintings in that study as well. The so you're kind of using this room as you mentioned a long rest, but you're not taking it. But you've considered this room as a possible base of operations. Is that what I'm understanding here?
That's what I was throwing down.
Okay. Gale, you look around. You also see these paintings. There's a landscape scene with large green dragon emerging from a grove of pine trees. It's very dramatic. There's another one that is, at first you think it mountains and birds, but as you approach closer, you see it is mountain ranges and Pegasi, like flocks of them. And it's a study in Pegasus motion. But there's so many images of Pegasi on here that it's, if they were reassembled, they could make an animation reel. And there's a portrait, tall portrait. The verticality is all giving the painting an almost claustrophobic feel. That there's this sacred space being created in this woodland grove in this painting. And it's just a few shafts of sunlight shine down through the canopy onto the forest floor. And in the foreground is a unicorn. So a dragon emerging from pines, a study in Pegasus flight, and a unicorn in a glade are the three paintings in this study. With that, before you left, I feel I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't allow everybody to make an attempt at finding something that was hidden.
Okay. Yeah.
Giving everybody an investigation check.
Oh, yeah.
But I have a feeling only Shaz is going to make it. And I was right. Look at the dice. Backing up the DM's gambit for the sake of good story. Thank you, Fifth Business. Whatever the dice are, God doesn't play dice. We do, and we're heathens. Thank you for being there. So, as you're walking away, you're like, one of those book spines. Gale was all like sniffing the spines. It's a recurring theme now. Everybody fixates. We're going to have scene transitions where a new character is shown watching Gale sniff books. But you're thinking about the spines, and you start walking up the hallway to go away, and you come back, and you're like, wait a minute. And you go over to this one spine that your brain didn't fully register. And you
Something odd about this one. Yeah.
You tug it down off the wall, and you see a chain is attached to it, and this isn't a book at all. It's a wood block fashioned to look like a book. And the wood block just pulled a counterweight. And a secret door opens. And peering inside, the dim light allows you to see that there's a staircase going down.
Is there any of that spooky looking hoodoo down there, like the upstairs?
Nope, this is just good old-fashioned darkness. A darkness that we will fade to as we conclude our story for tonight. This is where we will pick up in 2 weeks. I'm Asmo Daniker, your host and Dungeon Master. I want to send a shout out to Kevin MacLeod, whose music we were so happy to use, to Fantasy Grounds for providing us with this dynamite virtual tabletop to play D&D over the internet around the world, to Matt. Matt, big shout out to the Hoff for kicking it with the tunes and sound effects in real time, writing our intro music and our intermission music. And to all of my awesome players, Nick, Ruben, Fran, Eric, thank you so much. And you can check us out again here next week on the Arc, where my friend Papa Kev will hopefully be tolerating my gunslinger's transition into a multi-class war priest, because more attacks with guns is cool in his setting. And I thank you all for watching. Thank you, heathens. We're going to drop the link to the Discord here in just a minute into the chat. So come keep the conversation going, speculate with us, ask questions. We're approachable. We're here to help. And we look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks. Thank you so much, everybody.
Join us next week as the Ark goes into the void.
Woohoo! Yes. So say goodnight, everybody. They can hear you, but we're cutting it out.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night, Gracie.